So have you heard of this? We got BIP-361. It's a proposal to freeze public keys exposed or public key exposed Bitcoin addresses to prevent quantum attacks. So I haven't read too much details on this, but the gist that I wrote down, the gist that I summarized here is they want to freeze every Bitcoin that doesn't migrate to some sort of quantum safe address within a certain time period, 5 years or whatever it is. And I think this might have came from Jameson Lopp and some other developers to freeze these quantum vulnerable wallets. Have you read much about this? And what is actually a quantum vulnerable Bitcoin wallet?
So there are, as I understand it, the first style of address, which when they talk about Satoshi's keys, most of these addresses that were used early on are kind of part of what's vulnerable. And then the most recent things, the Taproot, which actually Spaces relies on, actually uses a form of addressing that is not the most most secure in this respect. But in my opinion, this just feels like a bunch of FUD. I think any proposal that says there is any opportunity to effectively make somebody's savings spendable, basically you've taken it away from them.
Right. Right.
And maybe I was just an early Bitcoin adopter and I set up a trust, to with these wallets early on, and I've passed on, and my estate, has got in the provisions of my trust that none of my heirs can get to it until 50 years past my death. It's like, that seems like a completely reasonable thing that somebody might do, and yet a proposal like this one would effectively ruin that scenario. So I think if you start even in little ways removing people's ability to spend, it's a breach of the kind of the trust of what Bitcoin was all about. And I think
it is.
If you start chipping away at that trust mechanism, then it's going to just be a series of cascading sort of chipping away and effectiveness. And that's like 1,000 paper cut thing, death scenario. So my hope is that a lot of these quantum FUD just kind of fades away. It's good that there are people really working on, what are some things, but I think it would have to be optional.
Yes.
Look, it's like, and if you think, that the quantum threat is just, is a bunch of crap that will never come true or won't come true in your lifetime or your estate's lifetime or whatever it is, and you just choose to keep your coins parked the way they are, then that should be your option. You shouldn't be forced to have to do something about it. That's not the way Bitcoin was built from the ground up. So,
so yes, it has to be optional. That's number one. It must be optional. You know what this reminds me of? Y2K. You remember Y2K?
Oh yeah, I was there.
when the digital clocks were going to turn from 1999 to 2000, and it was going to be this crazy, everything's going to break, the world's going to end. And what happened?
Out of the sky. Yeah.
And what happened?
Like a whole lot of not much.
Nothing happened. Yeah. So quantum could be, this quantum threat, it could just be another Y2K, a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. No, I do clearly remember it. What it did do was it forced a lot of companies to upgrade their hardware and spend a bunch of money changing their software. And that actually caused a big, in the early 2001, 2002, there was all the budget for IT was just exhausted. Like nobody could buy anything because there was no money in companies to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like suffered a bit of a mini drought after that, just because everybody had been so freaked out about Y2K. And maybe that some of that IT spend was required or was prudent, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? People just like keep going on and on forever. But we lived through that. We lived through other things. I mean, there's another Unix time bug that's like, Unix time is stored in like a 32-bit unsigned integer or something like that. So there's some future date where that will roll over. So, what are we going to do? It's the same thing. It's like another version of the Y2K bug.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what happens if things stop working when that happens? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, I think quantum has a way of, because people don't grasp what it means,
right?
Really understand what it takes to like put together a machine to do these kind of cracking.
Mm-hmm.
They just take at face value that it's a threat that's assured going to come. And I don't think so, but
yeah,
could be wrong.
Me personally, I don't fully understand quantum and what it is, but I understand the ethos of Bitcoin, and you can't go around freezing people's funds and wallets. What would happen if quantum did break these specific wallets, but everyone else that's aware or whatever just moves theirs to these different wallets? So what? Quantum people with quantum hack Bitcoin. So there's a few million Bitcoin on the market. Okay. Is that I guess, I mean, that would.
I've heard it theorized that, if that really did play out that way, it's effectively just redistributing some portion of a fixed quantity, asset class.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be like completely 100% destructive. It would, change the market dynamic for a while, but at some point, all that value would get redistributed, and priced at, whatever the market rate is over some period of time, and we would just keep chugging. So it's like even the worst or really bad scenarios aren't completely the worst possible thing.
Yeah, it would definitely crush the market, but then I'm thinking like devil's advocate here, it would also crush the reputation of Bitcoin. Like, hey, it's been hacked. So quantum breaks it. Who's to say what will be broken again in the future? It will definitely reduce people's confidence in Bitcoin's longevity.
Right, exactly. Again, we've seen this. We saw this through the block wars, right? We've seen things like, who was that guy? I can't remember his name, that was claiming he was Satoshi.
Craig Wright.
Craig Wright, right. Everybody was worried. It's like, well, if he really is, then he becomes a target, an individual voice that can be swayed and influenced, and went through all this legal proceeding to try to establish that he was. And at the end, it was determined that he wasn't. And he could never prove it, by signing any of the keys that proving that he had keys to all the original coins. So it's like, that's kind of came and went. So, and there'll probably be other things, that come and go. I mean, we saw things like the Mt. Gox hack, was really disruptive, and people thought, oh, that's it. It can't work. And we've lived through all that, and there'll be probably other things, but if you're going to bank on or place a bet on some type of system, which one are you going to place a bet on? The one that you think is the most, cryptographically sound and bound by energy and hashing and all this, everything else has a downside to some extent.
Imagine
Bitcoin has downsides too.
It does.
It's slow, but those things are being addressed in other ways. So
imagine Satoshi, the genius that he was. He goes through all this effort to pull all these technologies together to create Bitcoin. He goes through all this effort to remain anonymous. He doesn't go to the government to say, you must change the money. He doesn't go to the government and the courts and say, I declare you must change this money. But all of a sudden he comes out and goes to the courts to say, hey, I am Satoshi, right?
Yeah.
Satoshi would never reveal himself in that manner, knowing all the things that he did and the way he went about things. Satoshi would come out. He would make some sort of message through Bitcoin, obviously. He would spend something. He would sign something. He would put a message in the blockchain, something like that. He wouldn't go to some trusted authority court judge to say, everyone must believe me. I am Satoshi.
Yeah. There was a recent TV thing that was put together, supposedly tying Adam back to Satoshi's identity, and they had gotten him on it for an interview, a follow-up interview. It was like, we're going to ask you point blank, are you Satoshi? It's like, no. It's like, even if Satoshi called into this show, do you think they would say, "Oh, I'm Satoshi"?
Yeah, it's me.
Like,
it's me.
It's like, it's pretty amazing that whoever Satoshi, he, she, they were, have been able to maintain this complete, anonymity this long. And, I wonder one day if we'll get kind of a, like an obituary, sort of like somebody died, and, now that they've died, that the disclosure that they were part of the Satoshi team, or they were Satoshi or something, is revealed, such that the news of it doesn't change anything,
right,
but kind of like closes the loop on and would probably be beneficial. Just like, well, that's not something that where extra doubt can be sown going forward.
Right. It's possible.
A lot happens on deathbed confessionals. Right?
Yeah. Wasn't there somebody that one of the astronauts came out and said we didn't go to the moon or something on his deathbed?
Yeah, there was something about that as well. It's like, and now you're like, well, did that recent moon flight actually happen?
Yep, it's crazy.
So yeah,
All right.
it's not the Jason and Andrew conspiracy show.